Hello, this is Tan from IBM Security Guardium Technical Support Team. In this video, we will discuss installing and configuring Guardium appliances. This is the part 1 of the training. Before we start the training, please take a moment to read the disclaimer. In this training, I will start with an overview of Guardium's operating modes, hardware and software offerings. Then we will move to the installation steps and the licensing. After that, I will do a demo installing Guardium Virtual Appliance version 12.1 on a VMware ESX server. We will wrap up with the key takeaways and the Q&A. In part 1 of the training, I will cover all points up to the demo part 1. Let's get started. There are 3 operating modes in Guardium. The most common one is the collector. Collectors receive and process database and file activities via the Guardium agents, like SDEP, that are deployed on the DB servers or the file servers. Collectors' data can be exported to an aggregator. Aggregator imports data from multiple collectors to create a unified view of the data. Central Manager stores crucial definitions like queries, reports, policies. It monitors and controls the other Guardium units, like collectors and aggregators, which are referred to as managed units. There is only one central manager, but could have multiple managed units per each CM and MU environment. The left diagram shows a typical environment of one central manager managing one aggregator and 4 collectors. The aggregator aggregates data from the 4 managed collectors. However, it is also possible if the environment does not use any CM. If the collector or aggregator is not managed by any central manager, then it's called a standalone collector or a standalone aggregator. Both standalone and central managed environments are supported. Here are important points to note regarding installation for these different modes. An aggregator and a central manager share the same installation option. A collector uses a different installation option from an aggregator and a central manager. After applying a license, an aggregator can be converted to a central manager and vice versa. However, a collector can never be converted to an aggregator nor a central manager, and vice versa. Therefore, it is very important that before installation, you must decide whether you want to install a collector type or an aggregator type. Next, let's briefly discuss the 2 offerings. The Guardium on-premises solution is available as a hardware offering and a software offering. The hardware offering is a fully configured software solution delivered on a physical appliance that can be purchased from IBM. The other one, software offering, is more common. It is delivered as software ISO images to be deployed on customers' own hardware as a physical appliance. But please note, not every hardware is supported. It is only supported on x86 Intel or AMD-based platforms compatible with Red Hat Linux 9 64-bit. Platforms needing additional drivers or specialized configurations are not supported. Alternatively, it can be deployed in a virtual environment as a virtual appliance. Currently, there are 4 certified virtual environments: Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, VMware Virtualization, Microsoft Hyper-V, and Nutanix AHV. Okay, let's walk through the steps to install the Guardium appliances. First, you need to gather the configuration info and the hardware info. You can check the Guardium Appliance technical requirements. I put together a table on the right for key resources like the CPU, RAM, and the disk size, showing their minimum and recommended specs. I want to emphasize that if you don't meet the minimum requirements, then core component like sniffer, they won't be able to start. I also want to emphasize that minimum requirements are just that minimum. In reality, most Guardian deployments do need extra resources depending on the load. Another critical one, disk space can't change after installation. You might adjust the CPU and RAM later, but increasing disk space requires rebuilding. Therefore, choose disk size wisely before installation. Second, ensure the required network ports are open. For example, the default port A443 for GUI, SSH for CLI, and 3306 for MySQL. They must be open. Third, you need to set up a virtual appliance environment. Then, install the Guardium ISO image, downloaded from IBM Passport Advantage. A friendly reminder, always download the latest ISO to avoid any known issues, because all known issues are addressed in the latest ISO. Once the installation finishes, set up the basics, like the network, time zone, and the daytime. When the server becomes accessible, install the license keys from Guardium's GUI. Finally, if it is a CM environment, designate the central manager and register the managed units to it. That's the step-by-step flow. Next up, I will quickly go over a few points on license keys. A working Guardium system needs one base license and at least one append license. These license keys must be downloaded from IBM Passport Advantage and installed only via Guardium's GUI, the graphical user interface. Base licenses have two types, collector and aggregator. You must apply the one matching your installation. Append licenses have at least 6 types. You may refer to the tag note at the bottom to get more details about each license type. You must apply one or more append licenses based on your business requirements. I want to highlight that in the central managed environment, licenses need to be installed on CM only. Managed units will inherit licenses from central manager after the unit registration. In a non-CM environment, licenses need to be installed on each standalone appliance. Next, I will demo deploying a Guardium VM on a VMware ESX server by following the previous installation steps. Specifically, I will install a Guardium version 12.1 VM in an ESX server, and then we'll configure the initial setting like the network, data time, and time zone. And after the appliance becomes accessible, I will install the license and designate the central manager and register managed units to the central manager. In the end, I also added another step to create a new Guardium GUI user and also access the CLI using the Guard CLI user. That's the plan for the demo. I split the demo into two parts. In part 1, I will cover the VM installation and the initial configuration. Let's get started. Okay, this is a web page from the VMware ESX vSphere client. From the left pane, you can see a folder created for this training. It's called in the TRG. And within that folder, there are two VM already created. One is intended as the CM, the other as the collector. And in this demo, I will create a new virtual machine and then install the appliance as an aggregator. So after clicking new virtual machine, I confirmed my option to create a new virtual machine. Next, I need to select the name and the folder. Folder, I will use the one I created, and the name, just follow the same naming standard in the TRG AGG. Next, select a compute resource. I will need to select the one dedicated for our team's use, the Guardium support. The storage, I just select the one available. Okay. Next, compatibility. This one is grayed out. I don't need to change it, so I just keep it as is. For the guest OS, make sure you are selecting Linux with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, 64-bit. Click Next. Here's the page to configure the hardware. So I will use the 8 CPU, 32 GB RAM. For the hard disk, I will just follow the minimum. I will use 300 GB. This provisioning is a requirement for us to use the same provision. You just follow what is required by your VM team. For network, you need to select the one dedicated for your Guardium virtual appliance. Leave other options unchanged. Okay. CD-DVD drive, this is important. This is where you select your ISO image. I've already uploaded the ISO image, so I just need to locate it. Okay. It is in the ISO folder. Okay. I need to use the one with version 12.1, dvd.iso. Click OK. And make sure you check the connected box so it will be connected upon reboot. VM options. I specifically enabled this option because I want to demo how to change the boot order to start from DVD first. Okay. Finally, just take a look if everything looks correct. If so, then you can click Finish. Okay. You can see the one in the TRG AGG is added now. Okay. If you right-click, you will have the option. I need to select the Power On to power on this VM. Just click the Launch Web Console, so it will direct me to the console. So this is a boot manager. Remember, I need to configure the boot sequence. Enter Setup, Configure Boot Options, and change boot order. So default is to boot from disk. I want to prioritize the CD-ROM. Okay. Commit change and exit. Now exit the boot maintenance manager and boot normally. So this is the ISO, Guardium ISO. You need to quickly make a selection whether you want to install collector or aggregator CM. I want to install aggregator and CM, so I selected the third option. Be careful if you want to make any custom partition installation, because if you use custom partition installation, you won't be able to upgrade. You will need to have to rebuild. So normally I would use the standard ones, option 1 or option 3. So once you made the selection, the installation is triggered. I used the faster forwarding so that we can have the installation completed quickly. So you can see it's trying to install various RPM packages, and now it's installing the kernels. You just need to wait. Don't interrupt it. So once the OS is installed, it will try to reboot automatically. Okay. It's being rebooted. Okay, you can see the reboot completed. It actually prompted the login, and the host name is showing localhost, and you might be getting those failed to start my SQL server message. And I just want to highlight that if the installation is still going on, those are the normal messages you may ignore. You just need to wait. So if you press enter, it will prompt you the login. If the host name is still showing localhost, it means the installation is not completed. A lot of installation and configuration are still going on. So just need to wait. It is only when you noted the host name is showing God, then it means the installation may have completed. In that case, you can try to log in using the CLI. The default password is Guardium, all lowercase. First login, it will ask you to change your password. You just change the password. But as you can see from the screen, it gives you a warning. System is not running yet. Status starting. Then if you see this message, it means there are still some tasks are running. So you need to wait. Please wait patiently. Wait for the system to be fully up. So in this case, I will not configure anything because it gives me the warning it is still trying to start. Okay, after several minutes later, I try to log in again using the CLI. Let me verify what is the current status. You see, this time it's not giving me any warning. Instead, it's saying system is now operational in CLI regular mode. So when you get this, then the starting is completed. Then you can start the configuration. I just quickly run the show unit type. It is a standalone aggregator. And the system patch, it shows P100 because I'm installing the version 12.1, right? So next, I need to configure the network. Use the store network interface IP followed by the IP address you will need to use for this VM. And the second important command is the default root. But I made a typo. The correct command is store network root blank default root. So I just corrected it. Store network root default root. I have a network resolver in our environment, so I also want to store the network resolver info. And also the system hostname. I will configure the hostname as in the trg-egg. So is it a newly cloned appliance? If you type yes, then it will generate a unique global ID. It is useful if the appliance is cloned. So I always type yes because it does no harm but generating a unique global ID. And then finally, I need to set the domain name. We have dedicated domain name for this virtual appliance. Okay, it just take several seconds to return. Okay, I have the intended network configured and the hostname domain name configured. You may note in every network-related command is prompt the change will take effect after network restart. So I need to restart network now. Type yes. So during the network restart, it will rebuild the internal firewall, the IP tables, and also it will set up the Solar. Solar, it is used in enterprise search. It is also called quick search. So this step usually takes several minutes. When restarting network, it could take up to 9 or 10 minutes to complete it. You just need to wait patiently. So in my demo, I noted it takes me about 9 minutes to complete this command. You just need to wait. And the final step is to restart GUI. If you see the message restarting GUI, it's almost done. Okay, the network is restarted. Let's verify if the network is accessible now. So I started the SSH connection using the CLI user against the full qualified domain name. Okay, it's connecting. It's checking the system components usability. Okay, it's connected. Let's verify the network configuration. Show network interface all. It's showing the correct IP address that I configured. Next, the time zone. By default, after initial installation, all the time zone is always showing the America, New York. If you want to change to your intended time zone, you can use the store command to reconfigure the time zone. For example, I want to use Asia Calcutta, and then I just use store system clock time zone, Asia Calcutta. It's prompting me that it's gonna restart internal services. Do you want to proceed? You need to type Y to proceed. So it gives you a note. You need to wait. Do not exit the CLI until command finishes. Then after command finishes, it's prompting you exit the CLI and log back on. Okay, just follow the note. Okay, now I just reconnect to the aggregator to verify the time zone status. Show system clock time zone. Okay, it's showing Asia Calcutta. This is the one I just configured, so it's showing the correct time zone now. Next, I need to verify the current daytime. There's a tips if you can't remember a CLI command, you just use the com followed by the keyword, then it will return all the CLI commands that has the keyword in it. Show system clock daytime. It is showing the current daytime. If it is not the correct current daytime, then you can use the store command to reset the daytime. If you can't remember the syntax, you use the question mark, then it will show you the correct command usage. But in this case, the daytime is already the correct daytime, so I don't need to change it. Finally, I just double check the unit type. It is showing standalone aggregator. And for license, it is showing now. So next step, I need to install the license and register the managed unit to the central manager. This is the end of the demo part 1. Please don't forget to review the second part. of this training. Thank you for watching.